over the northern hills is where the Crusader army came from. They marched down from Constantinople over the hills and fanned out round the city, clamping it in an iron siege. Finally, the moment of conflict. And they must have been pretty excited, pretty hepped up. This was the enemy. This is where it's all going to start.
Breaking their way into Nicaea would not be easy. A thick 3-mile-long wall enclosed 3 sides of the city.
Attacking a city like this is really pretty difficult because these walls are very formidable. You can see them here, 10 meters high roughly. The towers here, 30 meters apart. That means whatever way you approach the wall, people have got you in their sights as a very good, very easy target.
For 6 weeks, the Crusaders besieged Nicaea. The fighting was intense, but morale in the Christian camp was high. They were on the verge of their first victory. Though the Crusaders had promised to return the city to the Byzantine Emperor Alexius' control, they expected to keep the riches of Nicaea for themselves. But their Byzantine allies were about to pull the rug from under their feet. Along the western flank of the city lay the great Ascanian Lake. Here, early on June 18th, 1097, emissaries of the Byzantine emperor initiated a secret plan to take the city and its spoils for themselves.
The Byzantines had brought their ships onto the lake to help in the siege, but they used their ships for a quite different purpose. They secretly contacted the Turks within the city. They would much sooner surrender peacefully to the Byzantines than be chopped up into little pieces by the Crusaders, who were obviously thirsting for their blood. And when morning breaks, there on the battlements of the city are the imperial flags flying. The city has surrendered.
The sight of the Byzantine imperial banner flying above the city ramparts incensed the Crusader army. They had been double-crossed by their so-called Christian brother, Emperor Alexius.
When Alexius did that deal with the Turks and took Nicaea for himself, the Crusader army felt utterly betrayed. They were furious. The man who they trusted, who was supposed to be their ally, who they would have to trust on the future fights through Turkey and into the Holy Land, had gone behind their backs. This was a very, very bad sign for the future of the Byzantine Crusader alliance.
Robbed of the spoils of Nicaea, the Crusaders packed up their camp and ventured deeper into enemy territory, heading towards Jerusalem. But they were not alone. From the hills, the Turkish Sultan Kilij Arslan shadowed their every step. He had just lost his fortress city. Now, he wanted revenge.
Kilij Arslan, mindful of the injury done him, constantly brooded over the fact that through the Christians he had lost the excellent city of Nicaea. With all his heart he yearned to retaliate and determined to lay an ambush for his enemy.
The Turkish leader would unleash the full might of his fighting force, more than 50,000 men. Scouting the land just ahead of the Crusader army, he found the perfect site for a surprise attack. The epic clash that took place here has become part of Crusader lore. It is known as the Battle of Dorylaeum. Though many have tried, to date, no one has found the real battle site. But John Franz has spent years sifting for clues and now thinks he can pinpoint its exact location.
We know certain things about this battle, but finding it is a different matter. We know that it took place at a junction of two valleys. We know there was a marsh But the thing that we really know is that this junction of two valleys must have provided an immense amount of space, because at one stage both armies deployed in full battle array, and that takes a lot of room.
Professor France is taking the same road used by the Crusaders in 1097. Back then, it was so narrow they could only travel 5 abreast. With 60,000 men, the procession took 3 days to pass any given point. As a result, a vanguard of 20,000 men led by Bohemond became separated from the main body of the army. They ended up camping alone and vulnerable in the very valley chosen by Kilij Arslan for his ambush.
This is really getting very flat and open. And I think this looks like a place where two valleys meet. In fact, it really looks like a place where two valleys meet.
35 miles from Nicaea, John France reveals for the first time the long-lost site of the Battle of Dorylaeum, the first major battle of the Crusades.
This really is it. You've got to take away all the modern earthworks, this road. This is a flat plain at the junction of two valleys. It fits all the pictures, it's even slightly damp underfoot. This is it. This is where the battle took place, and we're standing on one of the really decisive battlefields of the Crusading era.
At dawn on July 1st, 1097, tens of thousands of Turks mounted a head-on attack against Bohemond's vanguard force camped alone on the valley bed. At last, on the real battle site, Professor France can see exactly how the epic struggle unfolded.
They were all mashed up in the camp here by the jeep, desperately trying to get their defences up, and charging up at them, up the valley floor, are the Turks.
For one man who fought at Dorylaeum, it was a day he would never forget.
Bohemond said to his men, "Gentlemen, brave soldiers of Christ, you can see that we are encircled and that a hard battle lies ahead. Therefore let all knights go out like men and meet the enemy."
With the Turks streaming through the camp, the Crusaders were pinned down. No matter how many Turks they killed, they were losing more men. As wave after wave of Turkish cavalry swept towards them, they now faced a style of warfare they never encountered before. These were no ordinary riders. These were archers mounted on horseback.
The Seljuk Turks were really first-class archers and very courageous. They attack very quickly. They're very light. Unlike the Western European knights. They have smaller horses, they don't carry too much armors. They were really clever in shooting arrows from the back of the horse, riding at a very fast speed.
This startling new tactic was decimating Bohemond's vanguard force of 20,000 men. But mounted archers were not the only surprise the Turks had in store.
The Turks surrounded us on all sides, throwing darts, casting javelins, and shooting arrows from an astonishing range.
Just how the Turks fired from so far away has never been understood. But buried away in a little-known Muslim text of the time, Dr. Taif al-Azhari has discovered an obscure reference written in ancient Arabic that may solve the mystery. The Naukia.